There's a video that goes around the internet every few months. A Japanese mother in a grocery store. Her toddler is having a full meltdown, screaming, throwing things. The whole scene. She doesn't yell. She doesn't grab him. She doesn't pull out her phone and pretend it isn't happening. She just kneels down, gets to his eye level, and waits. About a minute and a half later, the kid is calm. Western parents watch that video and think the same thing every time. How? It's not a trick. It's not some magic phrase. It's a completely different idea of what discipline even is. In the West, discipline means consequences. You did something wrong. Here's what happens to you. Time out. No screens. Raised voice. Maybe worse. The whole setup treats the child like an opponent you have to beat. In Japan, discipline isn't a fight. It's a teaching moment that happens to involve a kid who's lost control. The Japanese word for it, shitsuke, doesn't really translate to discipline the way we use it. It's closer to training the heart. Shaping who a child is becoming, not punishing who they were 5 minutes ago. That difference is the whole game. The first thing a Japanese parent does when a child acts out might surprise you. They don't react. Not in a cold way, in a patient way. They pause, they take a breath, they let the moment sit for a second before they say anything. Western parents have been trained, by their own parents, by stress, by being exhausted, to react instantly. The yell comes before the thought. The threat comes before the parent has even figured out what actually happened. By the time they understand the situation, they've already made it worse. A Japanese parent treats that first second as something sacred. What's actually going on here? Is my kid hungry, tired, scared, or are they testing a limit? You can't teach anything in the middle of your own reaction. You have to wait for the reaction to pass first. That's the foundation of the whole thing. The next thing they do, and this is harder than it sounds, is they go to the child. Physically. They don't shout instructions across the room. They don't bark from the kitchen while the kid melts down in the living room. They walk over. They kneel down. They get on eye level. This one move changes everything about the conversation that's about to happen. When you stand over a child, you're not just bigger. You're a threat. The kid's nervous system reads it as danger, and the second you become danger, learning shuts off. Their brain stops processing your words and starts processing how to survive you. Get on their level, and you turn back into a person. Not a giant, not a judge, just a person their size, talking to them. Now they can hear you. Before, they couldn't. Most Western discipline fails right here. Not because the parent said the wrong thing, because the parent said the right thing from the wrong height. Now, here's where it gets interesting. A Japanese parent, in this moment, doesn't usually start with the rule. They don't lead with, better, or we don't do that. They lead with the feeling. You're upset. You wanted that toy. It's hard when your brother takes the thing you were playing with. This isn't soft parenting. It isn't making excuses for the behavior. It's something Western parents have been taught to skip. Naming what the child is feeling before correcting what the child is doing. When you skip the feeling, the kid hears the correction as an attack. They get defensive, they dig in. The whole thing blows up. When you name the feeling first, something different happens. The child's body relaxes, even just a little, just enough. Now they can hear what comes next. What comes next is the lesson, but it's delivered a specific way. Instead of telling the child what they did wrong, the Japanese parent usually asks them what happened. Not to interrogate, to make the kid do the thinking. What were you trying to do? What happened to your sister when you pushed her? How do you think she felt? The child has to come up with the answer themselves. They can't just sit there and tune out a lecture. Their own brain has to do the work of figuring out how their behavior affected someone else. That's where empathy comes from, not from being told to be kind, from being asked to imagine. Most 6-year-olds in Japan have done this exercise hundreds of times before they ever start elementary school. Most 6-year-olds in America have done it almost never. We tell them what they did wrong. We rarely make them think it through. Then comes the moment that really separates the two cultures. The Japanese parent doesn't punish. There's no timeout chair, no taking things away, no counting to 3. The conversation itself is the discipline. The lesson is the consequence. This sounds impossible to most Western parents. If there's no punishment, why would the child stop? Because the child isn't stopping out of fear. They're stopping because they actually understand. And understanding lasts. Fear wears off the second the parent stops watching. A child raised on punishment learns to avoid getting caught. A child raised on understanding learns to actually behave differently. Those are two very different children. They grow into two very different adults. So far, we've covered the pause, getting on eye level, naming the feeling, asking instead of telling, and skipping punishment. But the next two habits are what hold all of this together when the day is long and the parent is wiped out. Stay with me. The 6th thing Japanese parents do is they don't make it about them. When a Western child misbehaves, the parent often takes it personally. How dare you do this to me, after everything I do for you? You're embarrassing me. You're making me angry. The whole correction becomes about the parent's feelings. The kid learns that bad behavior sets off a hurricane in mom or dad. So now the child has two problems: what they did wrong and the storm that just came out of their parent because of it. A Japanese parent keeps themselves out of it. They don't say you made me angry. They say what you did hurt your friend. The focus stays on what happened and how it affected someone else, not on how the parent feels about it. This sounds like a small thing. It isn't. A kid who learns my behavior affects other people grows up with a working conscience. A kid who learns my behavior affects how my parent feels about me grows up trying to manage their parents' emotions for the rest of their life. The 7th habit is the one nobody talks about. It's the quiet repair afterward. Once the moment has passed and the child is calm, a Japanese parent closes the loop. Not with a long talk, just something small. A hand on the shoulder, going back to whatever they were doing before. A return to normal. The message is simple. That moment is over. You're not in trouble anymore. We're okay. Western parents tend to hold on to a misbehavior for hours. The cold tone lingers. The disappointment hangs in the air. The kid spends the rest of the afternoon trying to earn their way back into mom or dad's good graces. Japanese parents end the moment when the moment ends. The lesson was the lesson. It's done. The relationship was never in question. A child who knows the relationship is never in question can take correction without falling apart. A child who feels their parents' love waver every time they mess up never really learns anything. They're too busy trying to survive the wavering. Notice what isn't in any of these 7 habits. There's no yelling, no threatening, no counting to 3, no taking away the iPad, no promise of ice cream if they behave. None of the tools Western parents reach for first. What's left, when you take all of that out, is a parent who is just paying attention. Calmly. At the child's level. Naming what they see. Asking what the kid was thinking. Letting the conversation itself do the teaching. And then putting the moment down when it's over. That's it. That's the whole thing. It sounds simple because it is simple. It's just not easy. It asks the parent to do something almost no Western parent has been trained to do. Calm yourself down before you try to calm your child down. That's actually the part nobody puts in the parenting books. Japanese discipline isn't really about disciplining kids. It's about parents who learn to discipline themselves first. You don't have to memorize 7 steps. You just have to ask yourself one question. The next time your child does something that makes you want to yell, can I get to their level before I open my mouth? If you can do that one thing, physically lower yourself. Take a breath. Look at them as a small person and not a problem. Most of the rest takes care of itself. The yelling won't feel necessary anymore. The threats will start to feel ridiculous. The whole cycle starts to break. Your child isn't trying to ruin your day. They're a small human with a small brain, having a hard time. The fastest way to teach them anything is to stop being the second person in the room having a hard time. If this shifted something for you, hit subscribe. We decode one cultural habit every week. The next video is about why Japanese kids fall asleep on their own, without any of the bedtime battles Western parents fight every single night. See you there.